So how does the stuff that you flush down the toilet affect your property? We're going to talk about that up next. Hey, what's going on, friends? Dylan Nonaka here at the Buy Big Island video blog, and today we're going to talk crap. We're going to talk about wastewater and cover a couple of different things. First, the different types of wastewater systems that you will have on most properties, and then some of the things that are upcoming to know about and be aware of when you're purchasing property in order to prepare for future costs potentially, or just so you know kind of what your situation is when you're dealing with your wastewater system. So the first thing is there's really three main types of wastewater systems in Hawaii and definitely on the Big Island. The first one is a cesspool, which is basically just a hole in the ground, right, that your wastewater flows into and then percolates into the ground. A lot of times it needs very little maintenance because of the porous ground here. It just drains into the earth, and obviously that isn't a great thing for the environment, and that's why they've been banned, and I'll talk about that specifically in a little while. The second one is a septic tank, or a septic system, which most of you are familiar with, where you have a tank in the ground where the wastewater flows into it. There's some magic that happens in there, and then the liquids come out and go into a leach field. And that is now the standard going forward. If you're going to do new construction and you're not on a sewer system, you have to put in a septic tank. And then the last one is a sewer system, either private or public. There's not that many areas on the Big Island that are hooked up to a public sewer, so you're not going to find that very often. A lot of condos and stuff are along Ali'i Drive. But in most cases, single-family residences, you're going to have either a septic tank if it's a new build or newer construction, or a cesspool if it's older. So how does this really affect your home purchase process and what to know, and why should you know about it? The first one is you want to make sure that the system that you have was permitted, and there's a way you can do that through the Department of Health and find out what the records were, and it tells you where the system is located on your property, what the depth is, what the capacity is, things like that. And you definitely, in the home evaluation process, due diligence process, want to find that out and know what that situation is, because if it wasn't correctly permitted or approved by the state, you could have a problem going forward. So you definitely want to find that out early on. The second reason you want to know what kind of system you have and what the size is if you are thinking about doing any type of future expansion, adding a bedroom or adding a bathroom, things like that. The county may require an adjustment to your system, or if you're on a septic tank or on a cesspool, you definitely want to know what you're on, because if you're going to do any type of expansion, a lot of times the county now will require you to upgrade to a septic system if you're on a cesspool and you're doing any type of addition to a home that's going to increase potentially the wastewater that goes down into the system. So what's the current legal state of cesspools? They were banned back in 2017, so no new construction could have new cesspools going forward. And the state legislature has also passed a law that by 2050, we're supposed to have all cesspools converted over to septic tanks. And there's a lot of pushback on that. There's a lot of people asking, how does that actually get done? Because it's not super practical, in the sense where if you look at plenty of old neighborhoods, and my house in particular is a good example of this, the placement of the cesspool is in an area that is hard to get to. And if you were to dig that up and have to put in a septic system, you may not be possible with homes around it, other retaining walls, things like that. It may not be physically feasible to do that, and you may not have land, additional land around your property to do that. So that's one big issue that's going to have to be figured out. And the second one, obviously, is cost. It can cost $15,000 to $30,000 to put a septic system in, and are we going to require elderly homeowners who have been in their home for 50 years to incur that cost in order to upgrade? So the state is trying to figure out ways on what they can do in order to help with those costs or offset that and make it more feasible. But that law is on the books. It feels like it's a long ways away, but it's already 2019, so it's not that far away, looking out to 2050. So all the cesspools are supposed to be upgraded by then. There is some tax credits available. So if you are currently on a cesspool, and these are available up until 2020, and you would like to upgrade to a septic tank, if you're a qualified cesspool, and there are some restrictions on what qualifies you, and I can tell you what those are. It's basically if you're within 500 feet of a shoreline, a perennial stream, a wetland, or within a source of water assessment program area which the state can identify what that is, they're giving up to a $10,000 credit to income tax credit to upgrade from a cesspool to a septic tank. So if that's something you want to look into, there's information on the Department of Health website about that, and they also qualify large capacity cesspools, which serve more than 20 people, and they could qualify for the tax credit also. So that's the initial program that they've put into place in order to help offset the cost. But going forward, to offset the cost of widespread upgrading from septic tank or sewer system or cesspools to septic tanks, it's going to be a huge cost, because just on the Big Island alone, you have 50,000 people that live on cesspools, and statewide it's estimated to be above 90,000 people statewide that live on cesspools. So that's a huge amount of construction. I mean, just the construction resources alone, to get contractors in there and engineers to build this, to design the systems and put them in, would be a huge undertaking. So a lot to unpack with cesspools and septic tanks, but good to understand what they are, and make sure you're working with somebody who can figure out what you're on, and then what the restrictions might be, and how that could affect your future use of a property or future costs that you may incur based on what you're buying now. So as always, let me know if you guys got any questions. You can put them in the comments or hit me up directly, Dylan@buybigisland.com, and happy to help. And thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next week. Aloha.